All right, so let's look at some questions from the lesson 2 module 4 problem set. And it's really all about this equation here. Part equals percent times whole. And when we're reading these word problems, if we think of the equal sign as essentially being the word is, right? Is and equals meaning the same thing almost always. And multiplication is almost always represented by the word of in these word problems. We can pretty much always set up an equation that looks like this but is missing one piece. They will always give us the percent and the whole, and then we have to find the part, or they'll give us the part and the percent and we have to find the whole, or they'll give us the part and the whole and we have to find the percent. So if we just look out for these two words, identify the pieces that they give us and which one they don't, set up an equation and just solve it using the skills that we learned in module 3, then we'll be okay. So for all of these, I'm not going to do the calculations for you. I'm just going to show you like what equation I would set up, like what piece is missing, what pieces you have, and then let you finish it from there. So for like number 1, A says what number is, so where it says what number, I'm going to make that a variable, right? That's the thing we're trying to figure out, that's the thing we don't know. So what number, I'm going to call that X, is, that's an equal sign, 40%. Now I'm not going to write 40% because we don't really do math with percents so much. We convert them to decimals or fractions first and then put those into our equations and our calculations. So 40%, that's equal to 0.4. And then of, that's a multiplication. Sorry, that kind of looks like another decimal. I'll fix that by using parentheses. And so the thing we're trying to figure out is X, and we can get that by just doing 0.4 times 90. Your answer is probably going to be, yeah, in my head I can do that one, that's 36. So hopefully you get 36 if you do that. All right, I'll skip to C. So I'm just essentially reading the words and just translating them to a math equation. It says 27 is, that's an equal sign, 30%, so that's 0.3, of, that means times, what number, I'll call that X. And so now you just have to solve this equation. 27 equals 0.3x. And you know, if you've forgotten your module 3 skills already, you just isolate x by dividing both sides by 0.3. You should notice that you get a number much bigger than 27 when you do that, because when you divide a number by something between 0 and 1, it actually makes the answer bigger. All right, let me skip to C. It says 25.5 is, that's an equal sign, what percent, so that's going to be my unknown, my variable, X of 85, X times 85. So this will wind up being some decimal that when you multiply it by 85, it goes down to 25. So it's going to be like in the neighborhood of a third, 0.3-ish, somewhere around there. And then you need to convert that to a decimal, or sorry, to a percent, because it's asking for a percent. So it's probably in the neighborhood of like 30%. All right, how about we skip to number, we'll look at number 2. All right, so number 2 says 40% of the students on a field trip love the museum. If there are 20 students on the field trip, okay, so this to me sounds like a whole, right? If we're thinking about this equation, part equals percent times whole, it says 20 students on the field trip. That's the whole. That's all the students in this case. And 40% of the students on the field trip, so obviously this is our percent. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And so it sounds to me like if we always have 2 of these 3, percent, whole, and part, it sounds to me like in this one we're trying to find part. And so I could set up the equation like this one that up here. I could say that X, the thing we want, the part, equals percent, which is 40% or 0.4, times 20, the whole. Okay, and so just solve that equation, one simple calculation, you should get your answer. All right, I think I'll skip to number 4. Curtis threw 15 darts at a dartboard. All right, so starting over. Curtis threw 15 darts at a dartboard. 40% of his darts hit the bullseye. Okay, so I think this one's going to be similar. So this is, the 15 is going to be the whole. That's like all of the darts that he threw. And then they gave us a percent, right? And so they want us to figure out what part of them hit the bullseye. No, actually, they want us to find how many did not hit the bullseye. So there's actually a couple different ways you could do this one. You could figure out 40% of his 15 darts. That would be how many did hit. And then you just got to do like one more step of subtracting that from his total throws to figure out how many did not hit. There's another way. You could think, well, if 40% of his darts did hit the bullseye, what percent of his darts did not hit the bullseye? Well, it would have to be, if 100% is total and 40% hit, then 60% did not hit. And that's actually how I'm going to do it. I'm going to say the number of darts that did not hit, X, the thing that we're trying to figure out, is going to equal 60%, or 0.6, times the whole, the total number of times he threw the darts, which was 15. So multiplying 0.6 by 15 should get you something smaller than 15. It's probably going to come out to, I don't know, around 9 or something like that, maybe 8. All right, let me move this paper up a little bit, and we can look at maybe number 6. Let's look at 6. It says, Matthew scored a total of 168 points in basketball this season. He scored 147 of those points in the regular season, and the rest were scored in his only playoff game. What percent of his total points did he score in the playoff game? Okay, so this is one where it's a little bit different than the last two. This time they've given us what I would consider this 168 here to be the whole, because that's all of the points he scored all season, and this 147 here to be a part of that whole. And this time it's our job to find the percent. But we don't want to find the percent that this 147 is of 168, because the question ends with how many points did he score in the playoff game, and this 147 represents all the points that he scored in the regular season. So first let's do one little quick side calculation. 168 minus 147, that's 21. So he scored 21 points in the playoff game. And so we want to know what percent of 168 is 147. So let's set up this equation up here. The part equals percent times whole, but we're looking for a percent this time. So we have part 21 is what percent, something we're trying to figure out, X, of or times 168. And so you just got to solve for that X there, which I think you could do by dividing both sides by 168. So you're essentially going to do the calculation 21 divided by 168, which is, it looks like, equal to about an eighth. So probably 0.125 will come up on your calculator, but you have to convert that to a percent. So 0.125 is not the final answer. You got to tell me what percent that is. All right, I'll let you finish the rest. Good luck.